Hey guys, Tyler Watson here, and I just wanted to share with you a really quick video on the power of story. To give you an idea, before I learned how to share a story, I struggled as an entrepreneur. I had focused a lot on having these tools or this product, and I focused more on, I felt like the tool or the product validated me and gave me value because it was a cool tool or product where I didn't feel very good as a human being, as a person, to go share the products or services. So there was a disconnect because when someone else had the same product or service, my value went down. And I based all my value on the tool or the product or the service instead of on me. And the cool thing about that is if you can value yourself and value your life stories, then no matter what product or service or tool you're using, the reason people pay you is because of you, your story, how you connect to that person. So I want to do this real quick analogy here of why it's so important to share your story with someone else, okay? And there's a lot of healing that comes through this. This is one of the most powerful marketing processes on the planet. Before I did this, I was making less than $12,500 a year and struggling financially and just didn't have any power. I felt just worthless. As I learned how to share my story, I was able to go to create over six figures within 7 months, which was crazy. That was like 10 times my previous annual income. So this is a really cool analogy. Now, I do teach, we go in depth at this at our Connect event, and that'll be coming up in October. I'll share more about that in some future videos. But basically, I wanted to get this out to you because this is so important to know that if you've been through pain, this is you've been through some sort of pain in your life. And if you have created some sort of solution, at least gotten like one or two steps ahead of someone else, you have value to share with someone else. Most people don't share this though. They fear the pain because they've been through something that hurt them or that has affected them in some way. They say, oh, well, I'll just talk about the solution. I won't even mention about the pain. So basically what you're doing is you're like sharing, hey, I'm Superman. I've overcome all this stuff. Here's all the cool things I've done. And you just base everything on titles and certifications. And here's all the cool things I've done, accomplishments. But if you don't share the pain, you will not connect to the other person. So the power of story is acknowledging the pain and sharing a solution. So when you do that, it can relate to this person and it gives them hope. They see, oh wow, maybe I could have a solution too. And at first it's just kind of like this desire, right? It's like, oh wow, they have created a solution. They've been through the same thing I've been through or something similar. And now it gives them hope so that they're no longer sad. They're like, hey, I'm hopeful. This is cool. And they want to work with you. They want to get your product. They want to get your service because they relate to you. Cool? Now, I'm going to share with you here real quick the power of story and how to actually do share a powerful story. Now, if you want to come and practice, like really the mastery is practicing. And in our event, in the Connect event, we actually drill down and get you a 90-second and a 60-second and a 30-second version of multiple stories. So there's multiple types of stories in your life. This is what's called a core story. And I was able to study this from some really great people like Ted McGrath, and then I learned from about 5 other people the power of story over the years. And I've invested almost $380,000 in the past 5 years, to get to a level of mastery where I can generate income with my story. So if you're one of those of like, man, why is it really important to have a story? Well, how many of you actually, do you actually want to make money serving people? If so, the key foundation is your story. How many want to feel connected to your clients and create lifelong relationships with them? If so, the power comes through story. How many of you have ever had an experience where you're sharing your product or service and then the objection comes up, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I've got to think about it, let me pray about it, let me talk to my spouse. All those are just false objections that can be handled through story. So oh my goodness, story is so life-changing. So at our Connect event, we go over this in detail, and but I want to just share with you the basics here so you can get an idea of this and start sharing your story with people. Feel good about sharing your story. So there's multiple types of stories. There's what's called your core story. There's testimonial stories, right? These are things to help build testimony. I think that's how you spell it. These are testimonials help build credibility. So if someone's like unsure, if they don't know if they're going to, if this product's going to work for them, then you share a testimonial story. If they're unsure about trusting you and really believing you, you share your core story. If they're unsure about like money, then you share your money story. And then you have a time story. And you have stories for every situation that comes up. You have a regret story. This is if people are wondering like, hey, should I just wait? Should I do it later? Hey, maybe it's not the right time to do it. So then you share your regret story. Now, all of these stories follow a similar pattern, and I'm going to go over these real quick with you. But just to give you an idea, like there's multiple stories for multiple things. You can also just share a lesson story. So this is a story that just presents a lesson, an idea that gets a lesson across. Cool? All right. So let's talk about the power of story. Now, when you're sharing a story, this is the flow of a story. You start off with an introduction, okay? So you have this intro, and in that intro, this is like the backstory. So it's like, okay, hey, and think about all good stories out there. They all follow this flow. If you think of any movies like Lord of the Rings, or you think of any Marvel movie, they go through, well, most Marvel movies, they go through this flow to make it a really good, solid movie. Now, the movies that really suck, it's because they leave out one of these pieces, and it's usually this one and this one, and or it's just a real brief moment, or they stay too long in those. So the first thing is just like a backstory, like an intro. So this would be sharing just like the backseat. So like my core story, for those of you who haven't heard, is mine started back when I was like 12 years old. And I remember I was sitting on the couch, and my dad walks into the room, and it's summertime, and I'm just watching TV, and my dad says, hey, son, we need to talk to you. And I'm thinking in my head, like, we don't talk unless I'm in trouble. So I'm thinking, like, did I do the dishes? Like, what did I forget? And he sits down and he says, hey, Tyler, your mom and I are getting a divorce. And this was out of the blue. There was no sign of chaos, of disconnection. And all of a sudden, my dad says, they're getting a divorce. I remember I felt inside that it was all my fault. Feeling like, oh no, I should have done something. I should have saved this. Like, why are they getting a divorce? And I felt in that moment, I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't even know what to say. So I just nodded, heard him out, and went along my day. I ended up going, and because of how I felt, it was so deep, feeling this regret, feeling this pain inside. I went and I started to go get straight A's. I like started to study more because I thought maybe if I study more, then I will feel good enough. Then I will feel like it's not my fault that they're getting this divorce. So I went and I got straight A's. I then became MVP, class president, and all these great things to try to fulfill this void inside that felt so empty. And I remember feeling just completely depressed. My mom went through 3 more divorces. My dad went through another. And over and over and over, this feeling of, Tyler, it's all my fault, kept creeping up. So bad that I remember sitting on my bed thinking about 5, 6, 7 different ways that I could just kill myself. it was eating me up so bad, feeling like I had to be this perfect kid to finally feel good enough, and then wondering like, where is this all going? And my parents' marriage is just collapsing all over the place, and I felt like I was going to be stuck and failing the rest of my life. I was set to fail. So with that, I turned to porn addictions. I turned to video game addictions, which was for the first time in my life, I felt something that connected with me. I felt this elation, like I could be understood. And I watch it, and I remember watching pornography for the first time, feeling like, oh, this temporary hope, this temporary feeling of value and validation, and then just feeling completely guilty afterwards. And so as I went through that, so what did I just share there? I shared what's called the pit, right? So the pit shows you the core pieces that you went through. Like I went through suicidal thoughts, addictive behaviors, but it's more than just what you went through. It's the feelings and the emotions that you experience. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I had to prove myself. I had to feel like I was this perfectionist and then always falling short, and that I would always fail the rest of my life. As I went through that, I remember this happened for about 8 years, or about 6 years, just a lot of suicide and depression and feeling these feelings. And I left for 2 years on a mission for my church. I was on top of the world. I was like, no struggles. I was like, yes, like this is my mission to serve. Came back, fell back into the same patterns of porn, of addicted mindset, of struggle, of feeling like a failure and never feeling good enough. And I ended up meeting my wife, who she was like a speaker and a coach. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And when I met her, she started to teach me about the mind, and that no matter where someone's at, they don't have to be stuck. You didn't have to be a victim to your circumstances. And this opened up my mind to a whole new realm of thinking and acting. So I dedicated my life from that point on to figure out how to get lasting results. Even though my parents went through all these things and I was depressed and addicted, I wanted some quick and easy and fast results and permanent results. So I started to work on myself daily and going through tools and transformation, and became a coach and speaker myself. And I loved it so much. I left my clinic, left my degree, and started to pursue as a coach and speaker. That first year, made $12,500. It was not ideal, but I was moving and I was transforming inside, waiting for my outside circumstances to catch up. And I continued and continued with a lot of work and a lot of transformation. With that, I was able to overcome the addictive behaviors. I was able to tap into my personal power, and I created multiple six figures over the next couple of years. Bought my wife a grand piano, which was her dream. She was a concert pianist, but could never afford a grand piano. So all these dreams started to happen. And I started to see, as I taught people to value themselves, to not be victims to their circumstances. Like that's one of my main messages today, is teach how to have balanced abundance and not let any circumstance stop you from what you want to create in life, right? So now you can see, so this I just shared with you my core story. So if I was talking to a client, I would say, so Mr. Client, well, let's say I'm doing a presentation, I would say, cool, so Mr. Client, I get it that like you might be in a stuck place, but my message to you is that you don't have to let your circumstance keep you stuck. There's a way out, there's hope. What did I just do? Well, I had the pit, right? The pain, this pain that we all have been through. And because I had experienced a transformation, or at least part of the way, I was able to share the pit and what's called the transformation. So you have the transformation up here. And this is the journey. And then you want to do what I call tie to today, which kind of brings it back and ties it in, okay? So if you look at my core story, and I share it multiple different ways depending on who I'm speaking in front of, and depending on like what the core message I want to get across. So I have my intro, my pit, my journey, my transformation, and tying it to today. And this is a really powerful process to help you start getting your message out. So if you really want to master this and practice and refine it to how to like actually market it, I'll be doing a couple more videos here and I'll be sending them out to you. I just want to really get this across because I was talking to one of my clients yesterday or 2 days ago, and he hadn't gotten his whole story. He didn't know what message he had because he didn't have his core story crafted. And if you're feeling like you're not getting momentum in life, if you feel stuck, if you feel like your sales are not on game, look at your story. Start to go through this process and craft your story. And if you want to join us, I'll be sharing a couple opportunities after, like I'll do a couple more videos because I want to share with you some other things that we teach at this event called Connect Master the One. And the dates, just to give you an idea, are in October. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my phone, and then that way you can kind of see if this is something that would be a fit. And I'm going to do a couple video series so that you guys can get some good content out of this and see if it's something you want to come join us at. Okay, this next date that we're going to do is next month in October 16th through the 19th. Okay, and it's a 4-day event because we go into so many things. And for the next couple days, I'm going to be rolling out a couple more videos on all of the pieces that we cover there in depth and practice and role play, where you get my feedback and we really craft it out. So I've had somebody who struggled with this for years finally come learn how to share their story and feel confident at it because they get immediate feedback. So instead of having to spend a year or two trying to go get feedback from outside, you're in a really safe place where you can feel good about sharing your pit, where it's not like a pity party, right? Where you share the pit and leave them there and you're like, ah! It's actually a great experience. And if you've had some crazy things happen in your life and you aren't sharing this and you aren't sharing that, you're missing out on the impact that you could make with people. Like, these two pieces are so key because that's what's going to help people see that there's hope. So go out, share your message, go share your story, and I'll give you some more details on the next couple videos. See you guys later.